Hello, students. So I shared one article yesterday, and a couple of students did ask me that what the article is about. It was a bit difficult, perhaps, to understand the article. So what I have done is that in this video I will just briefly explain what this article is about. Okay, so this has been picked up from a particular book. It has been excerpted from this book, Inheritance: The Evolution Origins of the Modern World. What it basically is talking about is how religion and morality are linked together, or if they are linked together, right? So when we are reading a particular passage, please understand that we do not have to understand each and everything. As you know, I mean, when I read passage, I look for two things. What is the main idea of the passage? So why has he written the passage? Now, in this particular article or any article in the newspaper, the title itself tells us what is the main idea of the passage. But in our exams, we do not get to know what is the title, and so we have to read. So we'll read it like that. The second purpose is how the author organizes the passage. So how the or by what I mean by organization is how he has built the logic, built the argument. What are the premises that has been used to come to the conclusion? So while reading the passage, I vary my speed also. Of course, I cannot show you how I vary the speed, but let me quickly tell you what this particular passage is about. So it begins with, if I ask what the most important social consequence of religion are, many people would say it is that religious belief make us act more morally. A survey conducted by Pew Research Center in 2007 showed that in answer to the question, do you need to believe in God to be moral? The overwhelming majority of people in countries outside Europe said yes. So it begins with a common perception. Now, either of the two things can happen. When you read the first paragraph, my anticipation builds like this, that either of the two things can happen. Author will say, I agree to this perception, or will say, I do not agree to this perception, right? So that is how the anticipation builds. And the way he has used it, if I asked what the most important social consequence of religion are, people will say morality. So definitely, if the title is not given to me, then I will definitely understand and anticipate that answer to this question, whether there is link between religion and morality, would be the main idea of the passage. This is something that author would have tried to convey. That is definitely, one thing that you should have anticipated. Now, if we move ahead, he says that, but surprisingly, the scientist remains divided on the question. Now, why scientist remains divided on the question, that would have been discussed, I think, in this particular paragraph. So you could increase your reading speed now. Even if the question come, you can always come back and see what's why scientists are divided. So the reason number one is that there is no clear cut definition of what is religion, what is God, what is morality, and that's why they are not very sure about it. Then there are other reasons also given. Example of Socrates is given. A question can be asked from that particular area, that why author has given the example of Socrates. So we also, when we read, we also need to understand what are the areas from which the questions can be asked. So whenever a certain example is given, question can be asked. Obviously, this is a passage where there is, you do not have to attempt the questions, but just telling you that that is how the questions are framed. Okay, so let me clear all the things. Okay, now if I move ahead and see, the next section is the science of morality. So what it talks about, today some of the best answer to this question come not from Greek philosophy but from scientific research, study led by my colleague. These are all less relevant thing. The important thing is that the study, they found that human morality is rooted in single preoccupation, cooperation. Very, very important line. So so they have done some study, and in the study they found out that the root cause of morality is cooperation. And then author goes on to explain that there are seven principles of cooperation, and they have found these seven principles more universal in nature than they would have thought. Across the world, various societies, and not only various societies, but all the other species also share this, right? So here in this paragraph, he talks about it. This new idea was quite a big deal because up until then, it seemed quite reasonable to assert that there are no moral universals, and each society has therefore had to come up with its own unique moral compass. As I explained, this is not the case. So now you know that he is going to explain it, that in a particular that morality is more universal than you thought. and it is not unique to human beings. It is also something in other species. You could have increased the reading speed, because he's going to explain the entire thing now. I'm not saying skip it, but increase the reading speed, because he has already told, as I am going to explain you now how this works. So increase the reading speed, right? Then you move ahead and say read the next section, the source of right and wrong. Now, what it talks about, the theory of morality as cooperation proposes that the seven principles of cooperating together comprise the essence of moral thinking everywhere. Ultimately, every human action that prompts a moral judgment can be directly traced to transgression against one of them. Once again, the repetition of same thing. But the important question is asked here, but how could we possibly establish that these seven principles were indeed universal? So now he is asking, uh, how we can say that it is universal. Definitely, he has already said that it is universal. Now he is going to describe the process of how he has established that it is universal. And that is precisely what he has done in the next section. He has told that how they have researched, what kind of research it was, what was the basis of research, and how did they come up with that conclusion that that morality is universal in nature, and based on the seven parameters. And then the last section talks with what religion got to do with it. So he starts with whether why people follow a particular religion. He said it is morality. Then he goes on to say that religion and morality differs. That's what science believe. But he thought, but then his findings have been that morality is universal in nature. And then he is asking, what is religion got to do with it, this particular thing now? So, in the last section, which is the most complex, I think, of all the sections, so what he is trying to say is, there would be areas where your comprehension would suffer, particularly this area. The answer turned out to be little complicated. One element of universal moral repertoire does seem to be intuitively connected with our religious instinct. So he is saying that one element is connected. Here itself, you could have anticipated that he is talking about that one element. We have found that one element is connected. That means other may or may not be connected. Debatable. Which element is connected? So paying respect to your ancestors. That perhaps comes as that is related to religion. For the other aspect, what he is saying is that they are not related to religion. In fact, religion just reinforces those seven behaviors, reinforces the act of cooperation. So that conclusion you can make out in the last paragraph, which is perhaps makes our life a little bit easy, right? So we have at least a provisional answer to the question. He's not sure, but provisional answer. Do we need religion to be moral? The answer is no. Our intuitive religions beliefs would seem to have no necessary connection to our moral intuitions, barring perhaps the special case of deference. Deference means again, so once again, the what you can say is respect towards the supernatural beings. That is the only thing to which morality and religion is related. Other, he is saying, it doesn't depend on religion. You can be moral without being religious, right? So the question that has been raised in the beginning, how is it related? It is not related to only to a certain extent it is related. In fact, religion reinforces the act of morality, and morality is based on cooperation, and it is a universal thing. I mean, across the societies of the earth, they have found the same morality. So that is what this passage is about. Yeah. So I hope you have read it, and then there are few areas which can create problem when you read. So I also face the same problem. If I'm not able to understand the entire passage, it's okay. I mean, you just have to understand what is the main idea and how he has constructed the passage. Yeah, important note about the construction of this particular passage is that time and again he has raised the question. So that is a very conversational mode of engaging the reader, right? So at several places his tone is very engaging. How have we done that? So how we have we done that? The question has been raised, and answer to that question has follows next.